welcome back to Swanzey Then and Now. I'm Jody Turner and we have Lee Dunham here. And today's topic is going to be Whitcomb Hall. That thing has been around for a long time. And some people would consider that the town hall.
Well, it depends on where you live.
It does, it does. But if you're from Swanzey, a lot of people used to call it the town hall. So
Right.
let's talk a little bit about Whitcomb Hall.
Yeah, Whitcomb Hall is kind of an interesting building. It's always been there in my life. I mean, it was built in 1916, so it's over 100 years old. And it has a sort of interesting history, which, again, I did not know. I am just not that old. But George E. Whitcomb Sr., who lived in what is now the Bridges, let's see, the Bridges Inn at Whitcomb House, I believe, is how they call it, which is right next door, right across Prospect
Yeah, people would
Street.
never know that.
And that's where he lived. He was a mill owner, owned the pail shop and whatever, back behind Whitcomb Hall. Actually, Scott Self still has his little works back in part of that.
It's where the
building.
big chimney is
Yep.
in West Swansea.
So, I mean, if you don't know anything about mill owners back in this time period, you know, they made stuff out of wood. Pails were made out of wood, right? And so if you owned a mill, you had to have trees. So you owned land. A lot of the hills around Swansea. Swansea is surrounded by hills. So if you're in the East Swansea side of town, you might know the lanes.
Yes.
And the Lane Factory, CL Lane it was called in my day.
The buckets and all of this were very strong in the Swansea area, from what I can see.
Right, made out of the pine. But buckets were what you put everything in.
Right.
Back in the day.
You didn't have Tupperware. You didn't have things like
plastic was not available yet.
No.
And that in boxes. So there were pail shops, there were box shops. Now the boxes were usually those dovetail joint boxes. And that's another container of its day.
Right.
That all goes away when plastic comes into being. And so these mills tend to die off. But they had vast amount of land. So George
he had some money.
George Whitcomb was wealthy.
Yeah.
Possibly he's called the wealthiest man in town in the 1912, 13, 15 range. So they wanted to do something about a hall for the Grange. At that time, there were two Granges in town. Now there's only one, Goldenrod Grange. But at that time, there were two. There was the Lincoln Grange, number 159, which was in West Swansea. And they were meeting across the street. The building is no longer there. It was the Universalist Church.
Kind of where the mailboxes are, kind of right back
about
of that.
where the mailboxes is across from the Stratton Library. So they were meeting there. The Universalists really were not meeting in there at all. There were so few of them. So they were renting it. They thought they'd like to buy it. And they'd like their own hall. And the town needed a hall too. The only place to meet in West Swansea or have large gatherings was Evans Hall, which was up over, Nick's Restaurant, if you go back to pre-1986, the Nick's that you
Apartment buildings there now.
Yeah, the apartment buildings. There was a hall up there, and there was only one way in and one way out.
Oh, so that was Nick's.
Right.
Then. Okay, I see it.
That's where Nick's was.
Right.
In the 60s, 70s.
Right.
Well, actually, before the 60s.
Yep.
That comes to be, I mean, that's almost a whole nother show of the Nick's going into this. I mean, Peter Nick Fracas starts that, or it's bought for him when he comes out of the service.
Right. Okay.
World War II.
We can't go there. That's another show. All right, Whitcomb Hall.
So Whitcomb
George.
Hall, you know, it has its heyday all through the 20s, you know, the teens, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. I mean, there are, should I call it minstrel shows? There are Christmas parties.
Graduations?
Graduation
All
for
kinds of
Cutler
stuff,
School
yeah.
for years.
Do you guys remember all of these?
I mean, and the memories. We did the
Weddings.
The Whitcomb Hall Committee did a memory book, trying to get people to just write down those memories. We didn't get a lot, but the ones we get are things that are really good to have. And we get one from a lady who was an 8th grader graduating in probably 1939, because her story was she was the valedictorian of the class. She had to give a speech, and in the balcony of Whitcomb Hall, all the young men from the CCC camp on the end of Spring Street, all the bachelors, if you know anything
How
about
is that okay?
Conservation Corps. She was nervous.
I would be too.
She was nervous.
Yeah.
It was just a great story to hear.
Yeah.
But if you're a person from someplace else, the CCC guys were from all parts of the country.
Yeah.
What did you do? Come to the graduation.
Yeah.
And they were all up in the balcony.
Yeah.
So, it's neat stories.
Yeah.
I mean, silent films, another thing that happened there.
Yeah.
So, of course, it winds down to the point in the 80s when there is a Christian school that is renting the hall for their space, and then it's deemed to be unsafe. So it's closed. 1987, I believe it was.
I think just before that, I had gone to a couple of parties that people had rented the facility at,
Yeah.
and it was starting to get a little bit dingy.
Yeah.
But
So-
not anymore.
So, it went through a phase of, a bunch of, committee and ways to do something with it and what to do with it. There was a proposal to make it into the police station and or fire offices at one point. That didn't make it any
I'm glad.
way. So the hall was a storage facility for the longest time. And in the 2000s, a new committee was formed, and that committee got traction and really started the ball rolling and one of the things that they looked at really quickly was, is there a way that we can redo the first floor, because that's a little less expensive, and get it open so people can come into the hall.
Right.
If we can get people into the hall, we can get people interested, and if we can get people interested, we may be able to get the traction to really get it restored. And it happened.
I know, the committee has done a great job.
2016 or so, I think, is when we opened up the first floor and got that so that we could rent it. And it made a little bit of money, and they created the funds so that the rental goes into a fund to defray the costs of the building, which is good. And then the committee, that extra step started to really take place with the LCHIP grant for $150,000.
Can you just tell people what the LCHIP grant is or what they have to do?
Well, New Hampshire LCHIP is and I'll get the whole acronym wrong because it's long. New Hampshire Land Conservation
History, maybe?
History.
The point is,
Yeah.
if you match the funds, or they will match the funds, rather.
Right, but these are these are federal funds too, so it carries strings with it. But
right. But it's a good way if you qualify to be able to do things and get more out of your money.
So that, along with a number of foundations like the Putnam Foundation, the Kingsbury Fund, Ira and Gertrude Hubbard from Hubbard Farms, Thomas W. Haas Fund, we were able to get that involved. And through all that, the foundations and the different funds, about $365,000 was raised just through that.
Right, and that did not come out of taxpayer money.
That did not come from taxpayer funds.
Right.
Then, last year, we had, or actually a year and a half now, the Gemalto Family Challenge. Mike Gemalto and his family came in with, hey, we'll give you $50,000 if you can raise $50,000. Sort of like a George Whitcomb
Exactly.
deal, right?
Yeah.
So that sounds like a tall order. We did it. We did it and then some. $53,000 was raised. So the total of the Gemalto Challenge was $103,000. So
Yeah.
now there were funds from the town through the charitable trust, through the trust funds that are raised. All town buildings and have a capital reserve account
Right.
or
Because this is a town building.
right.
Yeah.
It is a town building, so they have that there. So say you need to replace a roof or you need to do something major.
Yeah.
Those funds are there to help out. So we did. The committee did ask. And one of the reasons we did ask for that kind of money from the town was $90,000 was because the foundations and the charitable groups that we were looking for usually are looking for, if they're going to put their money in, they want to make sure you're committed to it.
Right.
And again, we're really thankful because not only is this paid for by grant funds, by town funds, by taxpayers, but it's paid for by you and me. People that went to the chicken barbecues and paid $10 or $12.
Yeah.
People gave donations of $1 here, $1 there. Everybody was involved, and that was the key to this success.
Isn't that what community is all about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what we were here to, this is like another show on Whitcomb Hall. Boy.
We've done several shows on Whitcomb Hall. I mean, we can go back. We should just run them all together.
And stay with us, folks, because we're probably going to do one more, and that one more
grand finale
is actually going through the building as you will see it when you go into it after its full restoration.
Right.
But we wanted to show you a little bit of what's going on there because it's a little bit about comfort, as in air conditioning.
And an elevator?
It's a lift, so it's not quite an elevator.
But yeah.
It's a historic building, so it has
Are they keeping the pink? Have they decided?
I don't know if the pictures will really show it well, but it's a sort of like a cream color off-white.
It's okay. It's okay. At some point, you'll see what it looked like originally or in the last few years.
Right.
Anyway. So do you want to look at some photos?
Let's look at a few photos here, yeah. There's the sign.
It's not just a dream anymore.
Right. You're right. It's not just a dream. It's actually happening.
Yeah.
And the thing that's, here's what was there. The guys are actually taking the window out there. That's
so all the windows have been replaced.
Well, the windows were replaced early on, but they're taking out a window so they can actually get stuff out. And,
I see. Yes.
And scaffolding had to come in.
And what is the company that's doing the work?
Cheshire Builders.
So a local company.
Local company. S&S Painting is doing
another local company. Swanzey.
Doing the painting, and they're doing a really great job.
They're great anyway.
And then there's a number of other companies involved, subs that are doing it.
Ooh, the attic.
This is your attic. This is as before things are done. But
so did they take all the insulation out?
But the insulation is gone.
Right. So they had to take all of that insulation out.
They had to take all the insulation out.
Wow.
Why? Because you'll see in a while.
Yeah, I'm sure they upgraded it a little bit.
There's the truck sucking out the insulation. That was.
And it was that fluffy stuff that it's like the inside of a pillow kind of stuff.
It was a good day's work for them.
I bet. I bet. What a mess. What did they find?
And here's something that they found.
What is that?
When the clock.
Is that the bell?
That's the clapper to the bell.
That's cool.
Now you think about this, and I never thought about this till they unearthed this. You bought a bell, right? But it has its own striker for the clock.
Oh, so it didn't need this.
So it doesn't need the clapper, so they just took it off and left
just put it aside and don't worry about it, somebody will take care of it. Yeah, that is great. I love that.
So that's the original clapper that went to the bell.
I hope you guys frame that. Seriously, that's a very cool piece.
That's why I figured I had to throw that picture in.
Yeah.
Because nobody knew it was there.
Right.
Now, this is the barn behind it.
Now, is this where the water system is going, or?
Right, what's going in here is the tanks and the fire pump
Right.
for the sprinkler system.
Right, the sprinkler system.
We had this monumental, and it was a monumental task of sprinkling this building. If there was town water, a city water main right in front of it, that's very easy.
Right.
Well, there isn't. There is, the West Swanzey Water Company does come down the hill, but it's still another 50, probably about 900 feet, 1,000 feet to get up there. That's an expense. Or you put in tanks, and the first idea is you put tanks in ground, or you put them in the cellar.
A lot went into this, so people
you're
need to know
talking
that.
a lot of water.
Yeah.
I mean, there has to be enough water in those tanks to be able to run that system for a certain period of time.
Right.
Before the fire department. So the plan all of a sudden evolved into, hey, why don't we put them in the barn?
Right.
So the barn is being, what you see there is being all redone up. And this is cheaper than putting tanks in the ground.
Exactly. Right. Great brainstorming.
So half of that is going to be used for the tanks and for the fire system.
Yeah. Yeah. And some of the things that we want to save are things like
Yeah.
the ceiling that you're
And
seeing,
then-
the walls.
Here you're seeing the ceiling, that's up in the balcony. And they started to do a little work to see how well it was going to come off. That's that picture.
I can't wait to see this. This is going to be beautiful. Ooh,
Now-
that looks nice and clean.
There's-
That's a sprinkler.
There's a sprinkler head.
Is that up on the second floor, or is that
No,
on the first floor?
that's down on the first floor.
But the thing that people don't realize sometimes too is now with new buildings like this or renovations, you have to have a sprinkler system. That's
Right.
not cheap.
See, yeah, and that's, I mean, what, the counter punches here in the committee were always, is it $12,000 to build a building in 1916?
Right.
And now we're spending
More than
probably close to $700,000-800,000 to bring this back together.
Yes. Yeah.
That's first floor and second floor. It's like what, 560. Well, I've got the numbers somewhere in there. It's like $569,000 is the estimate to fix this. I think it ends up being a little bit more. There's a haul about 3 weeks ago. And one thing I want to point out.
It is going to be beautiful.
One thing I want to point out. See the hanging light fixtures?
Yes.
If you were in the hall a number of times, you never saw hanging fixtures, did you?
No. Were those hidden somewhere? Had they taken them
They've
down?
been lost, unfortunately. Those aren't original, but those are as original to the ones that were there. I have seen a picture. I've got to get my hands on it so that you can actually see it.
I cannot wait for this.
But what happened at some point in time, and I can look up this because we actually voted on it at town meeting, to allow kids to play basketball here. So if you're playing basketball, you can't have hanging fixtures, can you?
No.
There were recessed light fixtures put in. And that's
what they had put in.
Probably in the 50s.
Oh, this is going to be
So
absolutely
we
beautiful.
went back to the original style of hanging fixtures that would have
And
been.
no more basketball.
And no more basketball is going to be played. But that gives you an idea. And see the color of the walls?
It's okay. I think it's clean.
It's hard to really pick up on it, but
Right.
when you look around the top edge, you're going to see a contrasting color,
Oh,
a
yeah.
little darker color.
Yeah. This is going to be beautiful. Now, and then they're going to do the floor, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's the last
That's
thing.
the last thing because people are walking through that.
That is slated to happen sometime in July.
Yeah. And
of
where's the lift
2020.
going to be? The lift is over towards the left in the coat
Well,
closet?
if you look at that, look at the left, and you'll see the opening way to the left. No door.
Right.
And you'll see a door that is shut.
Right.
The door that is shut was the original door, and that is shut and going to be locked or blocked so you can't use it.
Right.
Now you're going to come through that door on the extreme left, which a new door is going to be put in.
Right.
And the lift will be behind where you see that other door, roughly.
Yep.
So that
Yeah. And you kept the balcony, which is great.
balcony is kept.
Will they put something up to lift it up a little bit higher so that people don't like fall over, or? I don't know if that's...
There was a little discussion about that, of having to do a rail on the front.
Because you could do like a brass bar across or something.
So we'll see how that comes out. I haven't seen work on that yet.
Yeah.
The shutters that have to be done over.
Oh, are they going to keep the shutters that were inside? Oh, I'm so happy about that. That's going to look
now,
great.
here we're looking upstairs. Why we had to remove the insulation?
Right. All the piping for the
all
sprinklers?
the piping for the sprinkler system and for the air conditioner.
Oh, right. Yeah.
You know, that gives you a little idea of the heating system that's in it, or heating and cooling
And
system.
did they change the heating cooling system, or
no, it's
is
all.
Is it an old one? I mean, like
No,
when,
no.
when was that updated?
When we did the downstairs,
first floor?
we put a boiler in that would heat the whole thing. Now, so we have hot water on the first floor, hot water baseboard. Doing it
Oh, there we are right there.
yeah, doing upstairs was not going to work as well. So we have air handlers, obviously, for the cooling.
Yeah.
And we were running hot water up to actually, from the boiler, to go through a heat exchanger.
So what do you need? You need the water upstairs for the air conditioning, but you don't have bathrooms upstairs.
No bathrooms upstairs.
Yeah.
That was another thing, because of its historic, because it's on the historic register for New Hampshire. There's certain things that don't have to be in place that would, if you built a new building, you would have to have a full accessibility,
Right.
And you would have to have bathrooms, you know, up and down.
Yeah, but you do have to comply with a lot when you you do get these grants, because it does have to keep that historical.
Right.
feel.
I just applied for, and it'll be probably a month before we hear back. Applied for a grant to redo. In the restoration process, we uncovered not one, but two old curtains for the stage.
Oh, yes.
The Grange Hall in Center has one. We found two. And we've applied.
And when you're talking curtains, explain that a little bit, because people may think that it's going over the windows, but these are curtains for the
this
stage.
is for the stage, and they're like backdrops,
Right.
or a front face, if you will. One is a curtain that shows the Thompson Cover Bridge down the street. And the other one is a true old Grange curtain. It has
the
advertisements.
names of the businesses yet.
And incidentally, I think it's a West Swanzey grocery or West Swanzey food store, I think it was named at that point in time, which is Stan Gemalto's, Mike Gemalto's father.
Where the park is now, kind of.
Well,
right?
it starts out on this side.
Oh, that's right. It was on the other side of the bridge.
And
right.
then he moves over to where the park is.
Right.
And then Mike takes it to where it is now.
Right.
And Jerry is running it now.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Wow. Well, it's got quite a history. And it's got quite a future, too. And one of the things that I did want to mention, if you're interested in renting the facility, you can contact the town of Swanzey and Jenna Fraunfelder. I did not put it on the listing at the end, but Jenna Fraunfelder, it's J Fraunfelder, FRAUNFELDER at swanzeynh.gov is the person that you'd want to contact. I know with COVID, they may not be renting it out right off, but keep that in mind, because this is going to be an absolutely beautiful facility for showers, weddings, gatherings, family reunions, whatever it is that you want to do. So
the town's been utilizing it for some trainings, and fire department, I think, will use it
and we've
for
had
trainings.
meetings there for like town
any
selected meetings.
Yeah, any meetings that are deemed to be a little bit larger than what town hall can take. So it's getting, and it will be getting its fair use, which is great.
Yeah.
Kitchen has a beautiful kitchen. Yes, it's a little bit small, but
but everything is very nice. It's all it's commercial kitchen. So Lee, what do you think George would say about this whole thing?
Well, I hope he would be happy. I'm pretty sure he would. George was really trying to get the town hall to move to West Swanzey.
I know.
I don't know if he's getting that full wish.
No,
but
but
the building that he's built
it's going to have a life.
Is going to have a life of its
Yeah,
own again.
yeah. It's really nice that people have done all of this work because, without the committee and all of the work that you guys have done,
yeah,
we wouldn't have it. And it doesn't matter, honestly. You've got the 5 boroughs. It doesn't matter if you're in East Swansea, the center of town, North. I'm going to forget
Swansea.
Somebody. North, West, or
Westport.
Or
Come
Westport.
on.
We
Swansea.
are all one community. We are all together in this.
Yeah.
What?
No. That's right.
No, so
I mean, it's not like it used to be. I mean.
No, but you know what? Things change. You got to go with the times. Yeah. And, I think that you folks have kept it in its original state, only in some cases better. I mean, now it will have a sprinkler system. It has air conditioning. Right. It has everything that we're going to need for the future. Over the winter, we did the tree lighting there.
Yes.
That was so much fun. I loved having all those families around, and they had a bonfire that the fire station did, and they didn't sell hot dogs. They gave them out. So it was just wonderful to see all of the community. I hope everybody continues to do all of these things, and I hope you continue to do the picnics and the barbecues and all of that, because that's just community. So today we've been. It's Swanzey then and now.
Yeah.
With Lee, with Jody, and with you, because you are what's important. If you don't tell your stories, then things will get lost, and we really need to hear from you. So we hope that you'll contact us. We hope that you'll produce shows or become one of our guests. So Lee, anything else you want to say?
No, I think we've
covered it on
to the
Whitcomb Hall. We've covered that. One more show. We promised one more show, and that's it. Well, maybe more, but. There's so many topics that we need to talk about. So please keep us in mind, and we'll look forward to seeing you again in Swanzey then and now.